The wind howled through the desolate forest, its chilling fingers rustling the leaves like a sinister whisper. My friends and I had embarked on a weekend camping trip deep within the heart of the Appalachian Mountains, seeking adventure and an escape from the drudgeries of everyday life. Little did we know that our journey would take a terrifying turn. Our campsite was nestled in a clearing surrounded by towering ancient trees that seemed to stretch endlessly into the darkness. The full moon cast an eerie glow, barely penetrating the thick canopy above. We had set up our tents, built a small fire, and were roasting marshmallows, sharing laughter and stories beneath the vast, starry sky. As the night wore on, the temperature plummeted, and an unnatural silence descended upon the forest. The usual sounds of nocturnal creatures were absent, as if the very wilderness held its breath. My unease grew as I noticed my friends glancing at each other, their faces etched with concern. A distant, mournful howl echoed through the woods, sending shivers down my spine. "Just a coyote," someone muttered, attempting to break the growing tension. But it was no ordinary coyote. Its howl was haunting, filled with a malevolent edge that no animal should possess. We decided to retreat into our tents, hoping to shake off the eerie feeling that had settled upon us. Inside my tent, I lay on my sleeping bag, clutching my flashlight like a lifeline. The cold seemed to seep through the fabric, despite my layers of clothing. Minutes turned into hours as I lay there, unable to shake the sense that we were being watched. Every snap of a twig or rustle of leaves outside intensified my fear. I dared not look out the tent's window, fearing what I might see in the moonlight. Then it happened. A low, guttural growl pierced the night, sending a paralyzing shock of fear through my body. I knew that sound was no coyote. It was something else, something unnatural. I fumbled for my flashlight and slowly unzipped the tent, my heart pounding in my chest. The beam of light revealed a pair of glowing eyes in the darkness, not 10 feet from our campsite. The eyes were not those of any creature I had ever seen before, too large, too malevolent. Panic swept over me as I realized the creature was not alone. A chorus of sinister growls and unholy howls echoed from all around, surrounding us in a nightmarish symphony. The woods seemed alive with malevolence. I shouted for my friends to wake up, but their screams drowned out my own. In the chaos, we made a desperate run for it, leaving our tents and belongings behind. The woods came alive with terrifying, unseen creatures, chasing us through the darkness. We stumbled blindly through the night, branches tearing at our skin, and the relentless pursuit of our pursuers never ceased. Exhausted and terrified, we finally stumbled upon a remote cabin, its windows shattered, and its door hanging on a single hinge. Desperation forced us inside, and we barricaded ourselves in, praying for morning to come. The night passed in a haze of terror, every creak of the cabin an agonizing reminder of the horrors lurking just beyond the walls. As dawn finally broke, we cautiously ventured outside, expecting the worst. But the forest had returned to its normal, peaceful state, as if the night's horrors had never occurred. We left the cabin, our camping trip abandoned, and made our way back to civilization. To this day, I can't explain what we encountered that night in the Appalachian Mountains, but I know that I'll never forget the chilling howls and the malevolent eyes that haunted our escape from that hair-raising journey into the unknown. As I reflect on that fateful journey, the hair on the back of my neck still stands on end, and the memories haunt my dreams like a malevolent ghost. It was supposed to be a simple vacation, an escape from the monotony of my daily life. Little did I know that it would turn into a travel horror story beyond my darkest nightmares. I set out alone, eager for adventure, to explore the remote and enigmatic village of Dunhaven nestled deep within the Appalachian Mountains. The quaint charm of the place had beckoned me, its isolation from the modern world seeming like a sanctuary from the chaos of urban life. But as I wound my way through the dense, foreboding woods towards Dunhaven, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was dreadfully wrong. Upon my arrival, I was greeted by the eerie silence that hung over the village. The cobblestone streets were deserted, and the dilapidated buildings loomed ominously over me. The only signs of life were flickering candles in the windows, casting long, disconcerting shadows that danced eerily across the walls. A chill ran down my spine, and I knew I should have turned back right then, but curiosity gripped me tightly. I found lodging in a decrepit inn, run by a haggard, toothless old man who spoke in hushed tones and seemed reluctant to make eye contact. He handed me a rusty key to my room and warned me to stay inside after nightfall. His warning was as enigmatic as it was unsettling. As the sun dipped below the horizon, a heavy sense of dread settled over the village. Strange, guttural chants emanated from the woods, and eerie lights flickered in the distance. My unease grew as the night wore on, and I couldn't help but peer out my window, desperate for answers. That's when I saw them, twisted, grotesque figures, clad in tattered rags, their eyes devoid of humanity. They moved with an otherworldly grace, their elongated limbs contorting in impossible ways. Their murmured incantations filled the night air, sending shivers down my spine. I dared not make a sound, but they sensed my presence. Their heads turned, their empty eyes locking onto mine. Panic surged through me as I slammed the curtains shut, hoping to hide from their malevolent gaze. But the whispers persisted, growing louder, more sinister as they drew closer to the inn. Hours passed like a fevered dream as I huddled in that wretched room. The night seemed endless, and I prayed for dawn to break and free me from this nightmare. When the first rays of sunlight finally pierced the darkness, the wretched creatures vanished into thin air, leaving me trembling and alone. I wasted no time fleeing Dunhaven, my heart pounding with terror. The village, once alluring in its mystery, was now a place of unspeakable horror. To this day, I can't shake the feeling that those twisted beings, those things that lurk in the shadows, are still out there, waiting for their next victim to stumble into their cursed realm. My advice to anyone contemplating a visit to Dunhaven: turn back now, for the nightmares that await you in that forsaken village are a fate worse than death. I was excited for my solo backpacking trip through the remote forests of Eastern Europe. The thrill of adventure had always beckoned me, and I yearned to explore the untouched beauty of nature. Little did I know that this journey would turn into a disturbing nightmare. As I ventured deeper into the dense woods, the path began to narrow, and the daylight struggled to penetrate the thick canopy. The eerie silence was only broken by the rustling of leaves underfoot. Something about the atmosphere felt off, but I brushed it off as mere nerves. As night fell, I set up camp near a small, seemingly abandoned cabin I had stumbled upon. Inside, the air was heavy with an unsettling stench. I convinced myself it was just the mustiness of age, but an inexplicable sense of dread gnawed at my senses. Sleep eluded me that night, as strange noises echoed through the woods. It was as if the very forest was whispering malevolent secrets. Shadows danced on the cabin walls, and I clutched my flashlight like a lifeline. The next morning, I discovered a trail leading deeper into the forest. My curiosity got the best of me, and I followed it. The path grew narrower, and the forest seemed to close in around me. The trees were unlike any I had seen before, twisted and contorted, as if they were trying to claw their way towards me. I stumbled upon an unsettling sight, a clearing filled with weathered, decaying dolls hanging from the trees. Their lifeless eyes bore into my soul, and I shuddered at the grotesque scene. This was when I realized I had strayed too far from the safety of civilization. Frantically retracing my steps, I became hopelessly lost. The forest seemed to shift around me, the path I had taken now a twisted maze. Panic set in as the whispers in the wind grew louder, almost mocking my plight. Days turned into nights, and my supplies dwindled. I saw eerie apparitions in the shadows, figures that shouldn't exist in this world. Hunger gnawed at my stomach, and exhaustion clouded my mind. One night, as I huddled in the cabin, the walls seemed to close in on me. The malevolent presence that had haunted me throughout this journey now felt tangible, suffocating. I heard the whispers in my head urging me to stay, to become one with the forest. That's when I snapped. With every ounce of strength left in me, I fled the cabin, running blindly through the nightmarish woods. Finally, by some miracle, I stumbled upon a main road. A passing car rescued me from the clutches of that accursed forest. I survived that trip, but the horrors I encountered still haunt my dreams. I now know that some places are not meant for human exploration, and there are dark forces lurking in the shadows of the world, waiting to ensnare unsuspecting travelers.